We have a question back here, or comment? No, but thank you, dear. They just videotaped me and I was in my best behavior.
It's going to be on YouTube.
Oh, it's going to be on YouTube. Thank you. What's that? What was that?
I said let's make it viral.
Oh my God. Yeah. I have to tell you, who was I talking to this afternoon about being videotaped? Was it Jennifer or was it about being videotaped? And I do fine during the presentation, but then when we get to the Q&A, I forget. And then I say things that we were talking. I say things and I think, oh no, after I leave the venue, I think, oh my God, I can't believe I was being videotaped. But thank you. So it's going to be available. It's going to be available. Thank you. Questions or comments? Yes.
I was most interested in that idea of institutional racism.
Yes.
Because, I've certainly worked in libraries, and libraries are very traditional organizations. We're very hierarchical, or we have been. Even breaking up the hierarchy is a difficult job if it hasn't already been broken up. So are there a couple of things that you can point to that really work to break up institutions?
What I'd like to do is approach it from my experience, if that's okay. And from the standpoint, and this is actually directed to those of us who are library administrators. It's the whole concept of role modeling. And I'll tell you, when you have to sit down and you have a really superb management team, and you have to sit down and talk to them about institutional racism, if you accept that definition that I've given you, they are in shock. When you have to tell your management team about institutional racism, implying that we have a problem here, folks. I truly believe that everybody working in this library does not believe, they do not believe that they are. And that's why I don't like to use that word, because racist is just a very negative term. So I take that out and bring it into the institution. And when you hire for the first time, the first African American person in that library, and that person has vision, and you hire the person because of that vision, and that person wants to help you institute change, and when people then put their, put the brakes on, it's not that they are racist at all. It's just that that person is bringing in new values, new beliefs, new norms of expectations, and they're not accepting it. They're not accepting it. That is institutional racism. So it takes racism. So it takes the personalization out of it. Because I can tell you, in all sincerity, the people in that particular department, I do not believe are racist by any means. But their little institution was not willing to accept somebody who was different than themselves. So when you have to have that conversation with your management team, it's very interesting. And then they become the role models. They become the people that say, that's unacceptable in my department. And that's how you deal with it. You have to take, I always say that I want to be treated, and this is the very first lesson I ever learned in my professional career. And then somebody said, oh, Camilla, that's the golden rule. And I go, oh, duh. I always want to treat people the way I would want to be treated. This is as a library administrator. The way I want to be treated if I were in the same situation. So if I'm calling somebody in because something went wrong, I'm not going to yell at them. I'm not going to belittle them. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. But we need to get to the crux of the problem, and that is explain to me what happened. And we discuss it, and then I say, so what do we do now? And when they can say it won't happen again, here's what I always say, what have we learned from this experience? And that's the same thing. It's sort of the same concept. I don't want people to feel. I don't like to use that word at all. But sometimes you have to remind people that the beliefs that your department carries that are so strong, and the attitude and the norms and the values are so ingrained in that department that you're not accepting of another person who's different than you. I don't know that for a fact, okay, in the examples that I've given you. And I give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that I have experienced in the large staffs that I've been ultimately responsible for. I don't think that I've experienced that. And that's not to say, and I acknowledge that you're right. There could be, in any organization, a person that's racist. But you know what? When you use that term, they better be pretty blatant. And I have to share with you now that I'm in the South. Okay, so this is the part that I walk away and I say it, and then I'm driving somewhere and I think, God, I wish I hadn't said that. But I will. There's a real difference. There's a real difference between the South and the North. Duh, yeah, duh. And that is that in the South, it's overt. You know what you're dealing with. In the North, it is subtle and it's covert, and you don't know what you're dealing with until, you pick yourself up and you say, what was that all about? So I have to tell you, I've not confronted that. Now, I would tell you that if I really believed there was somebody in the organization that truly was, you have to deal with it. You have to deal with it. You have to nip that in the bud immediately. Because if you don't, that gives everybody else the opportunity for that person to serve as their role model. And part of being able to deal with that is that if you have core principles or what I call guiding principles in your library, and some of those, and a guiding principle would be that you treat people that you work with respect, et cetera, and if everybody accepts those guiding principles, then you can call them on that. And there are other terminology that you can have in your guiding principles.